So before we get started, you need to know your hip measurement. So you're going to make a chain. The chain should be long enough to go around your hips when stretched. The chain should be stretched all the way to the number you get when you place your tape measure around your hips. Okay, so I'm going to make a chain of 111. This is enough for me, so depending on your measurement, you may need to chain more or less. After making the chain, you're going to make sure that it is not twisted. So make sure that the V's are facing up, as you can see in the video. After that, you're going to slip stitch in the first chain that you made. Set your hook and pull through like so. And now we have this ring that we're going to work around. For this tutorial, I'm using a hip measurement of 44. So since my chain is doubled, this should be half of 44 inches, which is 22 when stretched. So if I had not doubled my chain, that means I would have to stretch this chain all the way to 44 inches. After your slip stitch, you're going to chain one, and then in that same space that we slip stitched into, we're going to make a single crochet. I like to work in the back bumps of my chain, so I'm turning the chain around so I can work through these bumps. So here I have made my first single crochet in the next stitch, single crochet in the back bump of the next stitch, and you're going to continue making one single crochet in every stitch until you get to the end of the round. I chained 111, so at the end of this round I'll be having 111 single crochets. I'm working towards the end of my first row of single crochets and I have 3 stitches left, so I'm making one single crochet in those 3 stitches. Next, you're going to slip stitch on top of the first single crochet you made, like so, to complete the round. Now row 2 is where we start our clusters. You're going to chain 3, which will count as our first double crochet, yarn over, and in that same stitch you slip stitched into, or where the chain is coming out of, you're going to make 2 double crochets. And here we have our first cluster. Then you're going to yarn over, skip 2, and into the third you're going to make a cluster of 3 double crochets. Yarn over, skip 2, and into the third make 3 double crochets. Yarn over, skip 2, and into the third stitch make a cluster of 3 double crochets, and you're going to repeat this pattern all the way around. I'm working towards the end and I'm making my last cluster right here. I have 2 stitches left and I'm going to skip those and I'm going to slip stitch on top of the third chain, like so. And that's I'll count that as our first row. Then chain 3 and turn your work for row 2. So in that space the chain is coming out of, you're going to make 2 double crochets. Now we have a total of 3. Yarn over, skip 3, and in the next space make a cluster of 3 double crochets. Yarn over, skip 3, and in the next space make a cluster of 3 double crochets, and you're going to repeat that, making a cluster in every space all the way around. So keep skipping the 3 clusters from the previous row and making a cluster in the next space. I'm at the end of my round and I have one more cluster to make right here. After that, you're going to slip stitch on top of the 3rd chain. So insert your hook and slip stitch, and that's the end of our 2nd row. Row 3 is going to be the same as row 2. So chain 3, turn your work. The chain 3 again counts as a 1st double crochet. In that space where the chain 3 is coming out of, you're going to make 2 more double crochets, which will complete the cluster of 3 double crochets. Then yarn over and skip the next 3 and make a cluster of 3 double crochets. Yarn over, skip 3, make a cluster of 3 double crochets in the next space, and you're going to continue making a cluster in every space until you get to the end of the round. I'm working towards the end of my 3rd row and I'm making my last cluster right here. After that, I'm going to slip stitch on top of the 3rd chain, and this is how your work should look. So row 4, you're simply going to repeat row 2 and 3. Chain 3, turn your work. Remember, turn your work at the beginning of every round and make 2 double crochets in that space the chain is coming out of, which will make a total of 3 double crochets because the chain 3 counts as our 1st stitch. Then yarn over, skip 3, and in the next space make a cluster of 3 double crochets. Make a cluster in the next space. Make a cluster in the next space, and you're going to repeat this pattern over and over until you have enough coverage for your pants. I'll be back to show you guys how many rows I have made, and then we're going to continue from there. Okay, I'm back, and here I have a total of 30 rows completed, and this measures 12 inches. I really wanted my pants to be high-waisted, but if you don't want your pants to be high-waisted, then you can make less rows. So to split this into shorts to make this crotch area, I went ahead and counted how many clusters I have here, and this is a total of 37 clusters on this last row. So I'm going to divide 37 by 2. Okay, so 37 by 2, you get 18.5. So what I did here is mark this one cluster, like I killed it, if I can call it that, and placed a stitch marker right in the middle stitch. Okay, remember here we've been slip stitching on top of the 3rd chain, so we're just going to count that this side has 18 clusters and this side also has 18 clusters. So we're going to have it like this. Okay, 18 clusters, 18 clusters. So whatever number you have, you're going to divide that equally and see how many clusters you're going to be left with for each side of the leg hole. So I hope I'm clear on that. Alright, so to split our shorts here, I'm going to make a chain of 12. So you consider chaining 9 or 6, depending on how big you want them to be. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. I've made my 12 chains, and I'm now going to slip stitch in this stitch that I marked. Okay, so I'll take the stitch marker out, then slip stitch to join. Okay, so now we have this crochet part, meaning we're going to work on each side of our shorts separately. So I'm going to start with this side, and remember, you have to turn your work at the end of every row. So on this last row here, I have turned my work, and what you're going to do is make a slip stitch in this next space, like so. Then chain 3, which counts as our first double crochet, yarn over, and in that same space make 2 double crochets, and after that yarn over and skip the next cluster, and in the next space make 3 double crochets, and you're just going to repeat like that, making a cluster in every space until you get back to where this chain starts from. When you make it to the chain space, you're going to yarn over, and on top of this first stitch you're going to make a cluster. Insert your hook. I still want to go in the back loop, so I'm making a cluster of 3 double crochets, yarn over, skip 2, and into the third make another cluster, make 3 double crochets in that space, skip 2, 1, 2, and into the next make a cluster of 3 double crochets, yarn over and skip 1, 2, and into the next make a cluster of 3 double crochets. Like so. So I have made 1, 2, 3, and 4 clusters here. Then you have made it to where we started from, where we have the chain 3, and you're simply going to slip stitch on top of it to complete this round. And we now have our first leg hole. Okay, and we're now going to basically repeat the pattern, but to do that I'm going to chain 1 here and cut off the yarn. The reason why I'm cutting off my yarn is because I don't want the seam line to be here. I want it to be right in the middle. Okay, so I'm going to reattach my yarn, make a slip knot, and I'm going to attach my yarn anywhere between the spaces. So let me see, I'll attach it right here. Chain 3, which counts as our first stitch. Then in that same space make 2 double crochets, 1 and 2. Then continue making one cluster in every space. Okay, so yarn over, and in the next space make 3 double crochets, yarn over, make 3 double crochets in the next space, I'm going to repeat this pattern until I get to the end. So once you get to the end, you're going to slip stitch on top of the third chain, and then you're going to repeat the pattern, and you're going to make, okay, let me show you. You're going to continue repeating this same pattern for your leg hole and make it for as long as you want it to be. But before I continue with this leg hole, let me cut off the yarn and reattach it on this side so I can show you guys how to work around this space. So I'm making a slip knot. So I'm going to insert my hook right in this middle stitch. Chain 3 to secure that. Chain 3 which counts as our first stitch, yarn over, and in that same space make 2 double crochets. Then in the next space you're going to make 3 double crochets. Oops. So once you get to this point, you're going to yarn over and you're going to work in this first space that we have. So insert your hook and make 3 double crochets. Try to tighten up this stitch as much as you can because you don't want it to be super loose, since we've had to skip a big gap right here, but it looks okay. Yarn over, and now you're going to continue with 1 cluster in every space, just like how we've been doing. Okay, you're going to repeat the pattern and I'll meet you back towards the end here. When you get here, so you can see we have these 2 spaces left around the chain, and here we have a cluster. So you're going to yarn over and again try to tighten up this stitch. So skip all this and into this first space make a cluster of 3 double crochets. You'll have this. Then this is the last space, make your last cluster, then slip stitch on top of the 3rd chain to complete the round. Then chain 3, turn your work, and in that first space make 2 double crochets. The chain 3 is counting as our first, so we have our first cluster completed for this row or round, for this round. Then repeat the pattern like how we've been doing, making a cluster in every space. Okay, make a cluster of 3 double crochets in every space and repeat for as long as you want your pants to be. I've been calling them shorts because, well, they're still shorts and we're trying to make them longer. Okay, so I hope you now get the pattern. I'm going to repeat, work this over and over until I have my desired length. Alright guys, at this point I have a total of 79 rows for the whole piece to where we are now on this leg hole, and I decided to change colors and I'm adding this pink one. So you're going to make a slip knot, then from where you left off you're going to reattach the new color. You're going to attach the new color, chain 1 to secure it, then you're going to chain 3 like how we've been doing and make 2 more double crochets in that same space, 1 and 2. which makes it 3 since the first chain is counting as our first double crochet. Also remember to turn your work at the end of every row. Once you're done with that, you're going to continue making 3 double crochets in every space until you get back to the beginning. So we're simply repeating the same pattern. I just wanted to show you guys how I changed colors in case someone needed to see that. So I'm going to continue until I get to the end. Once you get to the end, this is my last cluster. Once you get to the end, you're going to slip stitch on top of the 3rd chain to complete the row, to complete the round. And like so, you've completed that round. Chain 3, turn your work, and then you're going to repeat the pattern. Make 2 double crochets in that first space. Make a cluster of 3 double crochets in the next space. And I'm going to use the pink color for a total of 3 rows, and then I'll change back to the teal color. Okay? So I'll be back once I have enough rows that I need, and then we'll do the last row together, guys. I'm now working on my last cluster. And just like we've been doing, when you get to the end, you slip stitch on top of the 3rd chain. Chain 3 and turn your work. This is going to be our last row. As you can see, after the color change, I have added 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows. So this last row, make sure that it's facing the right side of your pants. So in this first space where the chain is coming out of, I'm going to make 2 double crochets. Then you're going to chain 2, and in that same space, make 3 double crochets. So here we have a shell. The chain 3 is counting as our first double crochet, which makes it 3 double crochets here. Chain 2, 3 double crochets all in the same space. After that, you're going to make a single crochet in the next space, yarn over, and make a shell in the next one. So make 3 double crochets. Oops. Chain 2, 3 double crochets all in the same space. Then you're going to make a single crochet in the next space, then make a shell of 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets in the same space. You should have this. Single crochet in the next space, then make a shell in the next space. I'm going to repeat this pattern until I get back to where we started from. I'll be back once we get back to the end. I'm at the end of my work and I have this space left. So I'm going to make a single crochet in that space. And then I'm going to single crochet in this space again, like so. Then go back in that same space with a slip stitch. Then chain 1. Then cut off the yarn, leaving a long tail to weave in your ends. And at the end, this is what you should have. So you're now going to go ahead and repeat the same thing on your second leg hole. Okay, then you'll be done. This is what I have. I can't show you the whole thing on screen, but the next thing we're going to work on now is the waistband. So let's get to it. So for the waistband, I'm going to use elastic. I'm using this for the very first time, but if you don't have elastic, you can use a chain or a drawstring. Just pull it through the single crochet row that we made while starting this project. My elastic is 25 inches long. I just added a few extra inches because I'm going to tie a knot at the end, but please make sure that the elastic you get can stretch enough to go around your hips. You don't want to make it too small and then it's hard for you to put on the pants, okay? So with that being said, let's learn how to attach them to our pants. To get started, I'm going to tie a knot. I added a few inches for this, so I'm not worried. I'm going to tie another knot just to secure it. Pull tight. And just pull it to make sure it won't come out. So now I have this. Make sure that it is not twisted while you join as well. Keep that in mind. So I'm going to start from the back of my pants, and I'm going to use the same hook, but you can switch to a smaller hook if that's what you want. I'm going to make a knot with the color that I want to use. Then from the back of my pants, I'm going to insert my hook and then attach this new yarn. Chain one to make sure it's secured, and then get your elastic. I'm leaving this behind. I'll get to it back later. So in that same space, you're going to insert your hook, and this time you're going to go under. You're going to go under the elastic as well. Then pull up a loop and single crochet. While you do this, make sure you don't twist the elastic. You don't want to do that. Insert your hook in the next space, go under the elastic, pull up a loop and single crochet. Insert your hook in the next stitch, pull up a loop. You want to pull it up a little bit, but don't make it loose. Okay? And I'm going to repeat like this. Making sure that my elastic is inside the yarn. Okay, like so. And this is how it's looking so far. This is the wrong side and this is the right side. I'm going to continue making one single crochet in every stitch available. I think it works better when you put the elastic in front than putting it behind. I'm learning this as well as I go, guys, so bear with me. I'll work my way around and I'll meet you guys back here at the end. Just remember to stretch out your elastic if you need to, if you have to, just so it can go all the way around your project. Okay, so once you get to the end, you're going to slip stitch on top of the first stitch that you have. This is my first single crochet. Going to slip stitch, chain 1, cut off the yarn, then I'll weave this in later. Then we still have this excess yarn. We're going to just pull it through the yarn a few times. Yeah, I'm gonna do it. So after, you're just going to cut off the excess yarn. I know it's secured and won't come out, so if possible I would put some glue to it, but these are my pants. But if you are for a client, I would definitely use a smaller thread and join the two sides together instead of doing it like this. Other than that, this is how it is. The waist look snatched. You know, this is ugly right here, but we're gonna go with it. It still has to stretch and all. So this is the look, and this brings us to the end. This brings us to the end of the video. I hope you guys liked the tutorial, and I'll see you in the next one. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye bye.